Good evening and welcome, free enterprise fans. My name is Dathis. I'm here joined by Baka Shinobi in the commentary booth to bring you round 2 of the Earth Crystal, the first match between FF4FE and a Stone Dingley. How you doing this evening, Baka?
Oh, I am excited. I'm happy to see Stone Dingley advancing. I did face him in the group stage table. The round of 32 is what it's called. Forgive me. And FLeury14, definitely not a shy runner. Definitely very good as well. Was drafted by the highest seed in the bracket of PK and beat them. So this is definitely gonna be an exciting race between these two. Both of them, I believe, beat higher seeded players in their brackets. So who's the real underdog here?
Yeah, that's very true. As you mentioned, lower seeds dismantling their higher tier opponents. And again, I'm a big fan of Dingley because he and I came from the Gilgamesh group. That's awesome. But I've raced against Fleury. He is absolutely no slouch. But speaking of nothing that's a bit of a slouch, these objectives, we are looking for some key items tonight, needing a minimum of 3, possibly 4. Sorry, minimum 4 no matter where we look.
Indeed, because we are going to need a Wages Aromas, which is either the Pass or the Darkness Crystal, and then 3 of the 4 objectives of Adamant and Legend, Barren Castle, the Sand Ruby, and the trading away the Pink Tail. So actually, we're at a minimum of at least 5 to 6 items because the Pink Tail requires both the Hook and the Pink Tail. The Coal Forge requires both the Adamant and the Legend Sword. And then either Barren Castle or Sand Ruby is 1 item, so minimum of 4 key items to get our objective, greatest of 5 to go and get it, and then we still need to wait to the moon, so we're looking at a lot of key items to be found.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the best part. What I think is the best part for the runners, though, is this Palom start. Everyone has really enjoyed the Quack Kid. He's been pulling his weight, as he always does. Probably one of the more solid starting characters, or just characters to get. Whether you slingshot him, or whether you use him all throughout the seed, get him to that early virus, and then Quake later on. Definitely someone you like seeing early on, and someone I know a lot of runners like picking up, and just having that great power going on there.
Yeah, Palom is definitely one of those characters who can easily carry a large section of the seed. Can't really do a lot of against Valvalis in certain spots, but you do usually pick up other characters, so you can't rely on one child to do everything. Maybe you take a child in a, I don't know, Sid or a Kane or something.
Yeah, I was just about to point out, Sid has really risen in popularity with the table flags. His high HP, great base levels, and just solid damage overall has brought him from like about say a B tier character to about an A tier. A lot of people have just been like, they see a Sid, they'll almost snap take him or they'll grab him. But speaking of snap, there goes the guns. We are off, and we're about to see who we may or may not take with these permajoin flags on. That is a Bard. Nobody wants any of that. With Asura handing off a Baron key, there's an objective given to us right from the start.
Always nice to see that Baron key on that Edward. He might say no one wants him, but if we get, say, a Pass, a Pink Tail, a Sand Ruby, a Way Underground, and Forge the Adamant, or excuse me, if we get a Pass, a Pink Tail, and a Sand Ruby and a Hook, we can be in go mode, and Eddie can go and take on Zeromus all by his lonesome.
That is very true. I didn't really think about that. But with the Palom, you kind of are looking at maybe the low HP strats as well, like the 1200 HPs. I know Fleury, I'm not sure exactly how good he is well versed in those. Dingley, I think, is fairly versed himself. It's a very solid decision. And we're going to see if we're going to get a little divergence off the bat. Fleury doing an old favorite of looting Baron, while Dingley actually following right in the footsteps.
I find this pretty interesting. We do see a free fight in the form of the Baron Guards. We can tell it's the Baron Guards because we have 2 sprites. With the both sprites being the same, that's Baron Guards. If they were one of the Baron Guards and a soldier, it would be the Kaipo Guards.
I mean, I'm here for it. I'm here for the any percent run. What about you?
I don't know. That forum was not so any percent.
You're right. But yeah, it's one item in the Baron. This Sparse 60 definitely showing up. But that Change Rod, very nice for a pickup for Palom. It's going to give him a fair bit of extra wisdom. And there is a twin. That gives you double your black magic right there. And again, access to twin right off the bat, which is very, very welcome to get through some of these early locations.
Yeah, though Fleury deciding not to take him at the moment, which, with these permajoin flags, you may be very cautious as to which characters you add, because when I'm looking at making a team, I'm looking to go, I would love to get a Palom, a Tella, a melee fighter, a Rosa, and then maybe a fourth, and then fifth slot can be Flex, but if things go out differently and I get Cecil, or I need to take a Cecil for some melee damage, well, I'd really like to have a second Cecil, so I want to keep my slots open. And having two Paloms and two Cecils limits who you can have for your fifth party member. You could either have Tella or a White Mage, and with Day Machine Grind being on the table, you usually want Tella.
That's true, but if you're going to grab the dual Cecil, you do have the Ogre, the Mac Giant grind as an option. Speaking of options, we do have a little bit of a divergence in the options. Dingley actually took that second Palom, so party divergence right away. I don't expect it to be diverged for that long. I almost expect Flurry to grab that Palom again later. Maybe he is preserving him for a slingshot for later on.
That is very true, because those slingshots are very powerful. If you end up needing to go and clear the moon, you could slingshot one Palom, get a good chunk of experience on the other, but let the moon experience carry them all the way to their nuke levels, which would definitely be very helpful because, hey, nuke, really good spell.
Oh, absolutely. Nuke is, again, such an extremely powerful spell. We have a Dancing Dagger we see here in Dempsey, and so that's pretty awesome for early damage. Don't even have to worry about losing those tier 2 spells. Dancing will do around 350 to 400 damage depending on the boss. So you've got your power right there to handle most early locations, which is nothing to scoff at. And speaking of early characters, there's your Kane. So he can also make use of that Dancing Dagger if you want to put him in your squad.
Yep. Stone Dingley saying no, and Flurry also saying no. Flurry going down the character, but with that Dancing Dagger, I think that goes and makes Antlion Cave pretty easy with just one Palom, if only because, well, Stone Dingley would have Twin Magic. Dancing Dagger is going to do maybe the same amount, probably a bit less, but it's still going to go and be about as fast, I think.
Yeah, and the nice thing is you're not looking for MP usage. Speaking of things you don't want to look at, Dingley, it does see that sparkle. Reset's too quick for me to see what that boss was. So that is an unknown in the waterfall. That's something I definitely would have at least seen because that's knowing if Wyvern's hiding out there. Speaking of things that are hiding out, Rosa behind the Kaipo guards. I probably would have taken that myself. Interesting for the reset from Flurry, though. Probably doesn't think he got the power just yet.
I would be interested in going and holding off, because if you can get someone who lets you take out that officer quickly and easily, you can go and get a good shot of experience on your characters here, especially if you can get a life glitch off on the back one. That officer contains the vast majority of the experience, so you can go and get big experience available. Instead, Stone Dingley deciding to go and kill the soldiers, just get rid of the officer. He will run away if the soldiers are dead. Does get the tier 2 spells on the Paloms, or Trevors as they're named, so going to be a bit of a help.
And we see on the top of Ordeals, we have Cecil doing his solo climb. This is not a solo character challenge, my friend. We can join us up. Flurry, unfortunately, says no. Looks like he's going to be heading over to Mysidia, seeing what those two bonus characters are to round out the last of our free character checks and grab out probably another character or two before maybe doing Hobbs grabbing that Rosa or going elsewhere.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see Fleury avoid Hobbs, just because maybe it's a fight he doesn't feel he needs to take at the moment, and maybe he doesn't feel he needs Rosa. Though, Porm and Rydia, those are two sets of characters. Those are two sets of characters you would much prefer to Slingshot, in my opinion, because neither of them have great HP growth. Rydia needs a full 1 million experience in order to go and get to her nuke spells, which is very important. And Fleury is taking this Kane. I wonder if he was holding off on taking Kane the event that Sid showed up and would rather have Sid.
Absolutely. As I was mentioning before we started in, Kane is the basically like baby Sid, doesn't have the HP, but can gain access to better weapons, and for the most part, whereas Sid has that great HP growth. Hammer's great against machine type enemies, and again, if you ever want to go looting in the Tower of Babel, you got those trap chests pretty much on lock, almost with the base wooden hammer and a berserk cast. But we see something that Kane is going to be very, very happy to see for. That is a Valvalis down here in Antlion Cavern. that's a bit of information for our runners too, because if this has the hook, we know the magma key is in place somewhere.
And conversely, if this has the magma key, then we know the hook is in play in the overworld, which could be very important for our runners, because that could be pretty important for that pink tail.
And as we see, as you mentioned, with Valvalis and these Palums, that flare did 1 damage to this Valvalis. I don't believe any level of bluffing is going to increase the damage. I could be very wrong here.
No, that's
but,
So how the Valvalis works is that when she spins, she gains an amount of magic defense. The fact that spells are hitting means that she does not have the maximum amount of magic defense of 255, which is perfect magic defense and means all spells miss. But she definitely has a lot, and I don't believe that little flare spell has that low of a magic multiplier or damage coefficient. So spells work by how much wisdom you have, you get a roll of a spell. Some spells have very low magic power, like the Lit 1 and Lit 2 spells. They do maybe, I think they do some mid to high range double digits of damage per spell roll, where spells like Flare, or excuse me, Nuke, do 400 damage up to 600 damage per roll. So Nuke would get through that very high magic defense. These little flares are not going to.
Exactly, yeah. As much as we love to buff it up with all these bluffs and everything, not going to do much, but we do have Flurry implementing the other strategy. We have the jumps coming out from Kane, and that'll make it so that he will be damaged, or sorry, she will be damaged by this Dancing Dagger, which is a little early, but more damage is still good. Whereas Dingley, going to go do this full defense, doesn't feel like he's ready to go anywhere else. Exactly's on that Palom, though.
Yeah, this is honestly a spot where I want to go and switch to the back row. This spot does not have great attack power, but it has enough to go and hit. And if you can do single-digit damage to someone who's been hit with weak, you've got a non-zero chance of killing them.
Speaking of things that are wanting to do some decent hits, we have Yang dishing up the hits. He's just wanted to come home. Why are you blocking him from coming home, Dingley? He just wants to see his wife again.
You know, maybe this is a training exercise. Maybe Yang is going and deciding, I need to go and teach these soldiers how to defend this castle, and is doing their best, and is very disappointed that he sees that they're the monks are not on the front line. Instead, it's these random adventurers who've been coerced into helping.
Exactly, and Dingley getting through that fight has Mute on Rosa, has Stop on both of those Palums, means that vanilla fight going to be very, very easy in Baron when he decides he wants to go take it, or might even go up to Ordeals very, very shortly. And there's the hook, so that means underground access could still possibly be here behind this Valvalis. If it's anything, it is going to be that Magma Key.
That could be a pretty big swing for Flurry, because Stone Dingley, you're going to need to find a better bow and arrow to get through this Valvalis with their party. Only a life staff. That is very disappointing for Flurry, who spent a fair amount of time on this fight.
True, but we may see Dingley come back here later. He may fade it altogether. Fade Fabul is definitely a PK special. Not Fade Fabul. Fade Antlion is a PK special, so he may take a page from that book, come here way, way later. But yeah, we do see the fact that if Magma Key's anywhere, not going to be here. Life Staff, still not bad for one of your white mages later on. It is one of the best ones, but it's just not something you want to spend that much time going and grabbing.
Agreed. And Flurry is going to Mount Hobbs, does know that there's a Rosa there, so looks to be getting themselves set up, it seems, to go and take on those Kaipo guards. And moving Kane to the center slot and taking Palom to the background, leaving Kane in the middle. So, looks like he's getting ready for a fight.
Yep, although that is going to put Rosa into the front row. Hopefully she doesn't take too much of a big hit, because she will be taking full damage in the front row. Doesn't get hit very much. Also, we do see something very, very nice on Dingley's side. There are some mute arrows sitting in Silvara. Again, great for that Asura, and great for the Kaipo guard, sorry, the Baron guards that we are going to be fighting one way or the other.
Yep, and there was an archer bow for sale there. That is a pretty helpful bow. It's the strongest bow you can purchase in the S Pro flags, as they are limited only to tier 3 items, which the typical S standard best bow of the Elven bow is a tier 4 item, so you're not going to be able to go and find that anytime soon.
Yeah, and we see the bandana, we see the archer bow on there, we see the mute arrows. Rosa is ready to rumble. Going to be making very short work of these guards. I'm really excited to see who the second fight is, to be honest.
Oh yeah, the second fight is going to be pretty dangerous for this team because these are two... I mean, you got a party of mages. They're not known for their extreme durability. But Dingley has been getting through a lot of this overworld thanks to that twin magic. It has definitely been giving them a bit of an edge over Fleury, who has only cleared Antlion, has not done Fabul, and Dingley is going to have another good fight with this Dolls fight.
Absolutely, and this is why the twin magic is just such a great spell to have. It's great AoE, doesn't take a whole lot of magic power, though that blizzard may be a little bit too early, but we do see the power of this Yang spot. Those blue dolls doing upwards of 150 damage on these kids. That does put down the Palom, and now we see Calbrina, and that's going to be a very angry fight right here.
And I believe, we were almost going to see something pretty fun in the fact that Calbrina has special elemental counters. If you cast an elemental spell on Calbrina, they have a special counter. And it kind of hurts. It's also very interesting because you don't have any elemental spells when you fight Calbrina in the vanilla game. You do not have any black magic users at that point.
Absolutely not. Dingley says, you know what? I'll come back to you later. Is going to be going and checking to see who is at this hook character. Now, this could be very, very valuable. We do have the access possibility of Edge, who's been shuffled from a front character everywhere with C relaxed. Now it's C standard, meaning that he's back here. This could also be the Tello that we're looking for to maintain grind later on. Or it could be any other number of characters here. We could get another Rydia. We could have ourselves another Edward. I've seen Oops All Edwards before.
Yeah, we have a lot of options in characters. I think the high rolls are going to be probably a Sid and a Tella, to be 100% honest. Though seeing a Curse String, Earth Hammers, Mute Knives, and Shops, nice things to see.
Yeah, that Evelyn shop is fairly loaded considering the characters we have and what we are going to be having to go do. Dingley just looted the first open part of the chests. Didn't find that trap chest. Is not going to take any chances, it looks like, and is just going to be heading through. Probably check the character, maybe save, and then start looting again. Who knows? This is probably like some of the best loot with the minimum amount of trap chests you're going to find. And it's, I'd say, pretty well loaded considering we are sitting on that sparse. And there's the vanilla I'm here for, and with some French vanilla on top.
Yeah, that, how tempted are you by that free fight at the Rubicon spot? King, Queen, Evelyn, gonna cast a few Fire 2s, toss out a few Fire 1s, and then they're gonna realize, no, this life isn't for them, and just decide to go somewhere else.
Let's see, that's the nice temptation. The real actual problem, though, is going to be getting there. We've seen some rude, and I mean rude bosses at that King Queen Evelyn spot. It is fast, it hits like a truck. Man, it is going to be really rough. But Dingley says, you know what? Give me that edge. He also even has a boomerang that he's throwing on right now. Gets him in back row. He can throw him wherever he wants.
And that puts Dingley at 4 characters. Only 1 character slot open. I'm going to guess that Dingley's going to be very invested in trying to get a Tella.
Absolutely. Tell is probably the biggest one there because you have your damage in the form of black mages. You have Edge to do whatever Edge needs to do. He's got middle swords, which, I mean, I've done runs where he's had base weapons. He can still throw some okay damage, but without any of his folded steel, he's a very middling character once you get to the Threemus fight. Though it does look like from this team, he's just going to be focusing on reflex strats.
Yeah, I think this team is not going to be terribly interested in how well Edge does at Threemus. Though I do think Edge might have the consideration of how well can he wear a Star Veil, because that's usually what you want your melee character to be doing at the Threemus fight. Put up the Star Veil, reflect the spells off of him, and that's part of what makes it great. He's going to have a pile of HP, and big bangs are just kind of be not so big bangs for him.
To answer your question in chat, are claws not so good on Edge? They are actually fantastic on Edge. He does get to make use of the elemental property, so if you are in a spot where where you have elemental weaknesses, like for example, if you kept the Ice Claw and Rubicante was vanilla, you would just absolutely truck through his HP. So they are really, really good, but you don't keep them on him at all the time. You keep one set of each and then kind of set it and forget it.
Yeah, the big downside to claws over Edge's other weapons is that claws do not give any attack power. Yang does not gain any attack power from any weapon equipped, so his claws, by extension, don't give attack power. So when Edge is putting on one of those claws, he's giving up a noticeable amount of attack power. But it's more than okay to lose some, maybe a quarter of your attack power in the form of getting quadruple damage on your attack.
Absolutely. It's that nice little bonus back and forth, and especially if you've got, say, Berserk going on, those multipliers are even better. Dingley does make decent work of this chest. Hopefully, he's going to get rewarded with an item, preferably a Mirasame. Assassin Dagger is really actually good to see for that edge. Agility, strength, and I believe some vitality on that. You lose your magic ability, but I mean, you have two kids do that for you.
Yep, though don't try and cast Flame because you get +5 to Strength, Agility, and Vitality. You get -10 to Willpower and Wisdom. Also something you probably don't want to have on during the Zeromus fight.
Oh yeah, no, you don't want to have Zeromus get any more advantages on you as much as he's already got on you. But again, as even chat's pointing out, that cursed ring sitting in Evelyn is probably the biggest reward there. The question is, does Fleury join Dingley, and does he grab this edge here, or does he send him to the Tower of Wishes and say, maybe later?
Yeah, Edge is going to be... Edge also has the Steal command, which lets you go and steal certain items. You cannot steal Sirens because while the J-drop tables have been restored, they've been explicitly... Sirens have been explicitly removed. But Fleury takes the Edge, and Stone Dingley is walking back through Cave Evelyn. I believe they're going to take a shot and see, at the very least, who was in that King Queen Evelyn spot.
Exactly, that knowledge can be very big. Also, but Baka, if we go to steal from the searchers and they don't have sirens, what are they going to give us instead?
They will give you what they give in the US game, which is Cure Ones.
Totally worth the time investment. But yeah, we see some okay items here. A little bit of money here as well. Again, the samurai arrows on that Rosa, when she gets berserk, can actually make her a very viable threat, even with just that archer bow.
Yeah, ooh, and a longsword for Edge. That's longswords can be available in gated shops, so it can make Edge a better melee fighter early on, and that Mute Knife will also do good work. Though I am curious as to... Yeah, it looks like Stone Dingley is just making a full push on this. Not going to go and try and clear out the overworld, just going to go and push down opening chest to probably try and find the Mad Ogre chest to get going, and then push all the way to that King Queen Evelyn fight.
Calling it's going to be in its vanilla location just because I'm here.
Yeah. I'm sure runners will be extra appreciative of that.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. We see Fleury, though, has made his way all the way out. Hey, there it is. Has made his way all the way out and is going to go see what's up in Baron and maybe even do the full check of Baron Castle itself to liberate it to get that second objective out of the way.
I would not be surprised because my experience on these flag sets, you want to do your objectives as soon as you can reasonably do them. And if you can go and get through this Baron check, which with this team, specifically that Edge, you're probably going to be able to go and do just fine and dandy on that Baron Throne fight. You, one, get an objective down that you know your opponent is almost guaranteed to do. And second, you might get another objective, or you might go and get something big like the Darkness Crystal.
Absolutely. And we see that Mute Dagger making very, very short work of these Mad Ogres here. The benefit of is the fact that they've got the Mage subclassing, meaning that they're going to take a chunk of damage. So that subclass doing a lot. Whereas we also see something else doing a lot is that Blizzard, sadly not enough to take care of those last two dolls. So you also have to throw out the Grimoire here. Probably that alone would have been enough. Yeah, is from what we see here. But Fleury says, you know what? Let's just throw the kitchen sink because once we get out of here, they're not going to. Those J items are not going to be as useful, anyways. And we get one key in place of another. That is a Luca key instead of the Baron key that's here vanillally.
That is a very interesting thing to find because The Luca key opens up the sealed cave, which allows us to go and grind doors if we either want to try and get some experience to get to end game levels with a fighter team, or to go and just inject some experience into a team that gets underground early.
I mean, I'm here for two things: vanilla and jank grinds. And that door grind, if you do not have access to the darkness crystal and you have a very, very rude Fey March, it is janky, but it is beautiful. Like, another thing is beautiful to see here, not only that Thunderclaw, but also that Elven Bow. That means that Rosa is going to have no shortage of damage against this Asura coming up.
Yeah, and nice roll on the Abari. We have the alt gauntlet in the King Queen Evelyn spot.
Now, this is actually not a bad thing. Normally, you'd see a spot here, this gives you no experience. But with this here, first of all, can I comment on what we just found on Fleury's screen? We found a Strength Ring and a Blizzard Spear. That Cane is definitely no slouch for damage now. But getting back, you have 5 fights that are normally 6, but with the Alt Gauntlet, we drop it down to 5. But instead of a very scripted set of encounters, it's scripted in a different way. We take encounters from all around the area, so you get to fight monsters that you may not have seen before, or may not have seen lately, such as that egg hatching into a Lamia, and this fight here of the Lamia Black Cat and Mad Ogres. If you don't spend time in Evelyn Castle, you don't recognize them. Yeah, we see stuff like this, and it's like, hey, do you remember how these go? And if you're not, again, 100% sure on some fights, you can see stuff like this Bluster, which is going to put Edge right down. So it's a bit of a memory game for some stuff you may or may not remember.
Yeah, you get thrown into some very awkward situations as, those Palams are taking some punches that they are very not prepared to take.
No, absolutely not. And with that Edge being blustered and put down, we see that the Mad Ogre is, in fact, living up to his namesake. Yeah, that's going to be reset. Might as well to get that taken care of. Well, Fleury is going to take his first dash into this Asura fight.
Yeah, and I do believe Fleury picked up a Mute Knife, if I'm not mistaken.
He's wearing it right there. He's just waiting for that life.
Waiting for the life face, because there's a few ways you can deal with Asura. The intended strategy is that you cast Wall on Asura so that her healing spells bounce back to you and let you do all the damage. And the other way is if you time your attacks correctly, after Asura casts a spell, when you hit her, she randomly spins her faces to go and land on a different one, which may or may not be a healing spell. But if you time it right after she casts that spell, it always RNGs back to the spell she just cast.
Yeah, and for a little bit of a discussion that's actually happening in chat, that the J drop tables are off. No, the J drop tables are on. It's just specifically there's no sirens, meaning that sirens are not available in shops outside of Kukul's Forge, which can contain any item in the game essentially, and you cannot steal them, and they cannot be found anywhere outside of very, very random treasure chests or even as key item drops. But yeah, you cannot find them or buy them anywhere outside of those rare locations.
Yes. They're quite limited on these flag sets as to, well, the goal is to encourage more variety in Grimes, as we also have the E Can't Run flag on. But, we have a very interesting community, which we'll go and get into that later if that comes up this seed.
Indeed. And we do see, I guess this is like a shot of caramel in your drink. We have the elements here, meaning that all 4 fiends are vying for control over Baron Castle right now.
They're just taking turns, as we see Rubicant Phase, and we see Rubicant Phase go goodbye. This spot normally has about 4,000 HP, but the Elements is actually 2 fights turned into 1, because after you do enough damage, it refills its HP and transforms into another monster. But if you do enough damage, it's just going to go away.
Exactly. Don't need anything from here. This is all good. Also, we see a little bit of a harshness on Dingley's side. He got that Palom got confused, cast a very rough Ice 2 on top of that Edge, but both of them are 1 level away from Quake. That's very good to have.
That is going to be helpful, though it would not do anything on these balloons because they are flying type enemies and will ignore that Quake.
It's always entertaining watching runners like, okay, I'm gonna Quake down these. Why are they still alive? It's you can see them visibly pause on any menu, and it's also great to watch just us laugh when we're like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yes, my Which monster surprised you most about being flying? Mine are the Electfish.
That actually is the one that surprises me the most and makes me laugh the most that they are flying.
I shot them with arrows to make sure that they're taking extra damage. They did. Oh, and Fleury gets the magma key from Baron. This is a huge item because Fleury gets to skip the hook route now.
Man, this is required and required into value. This is exactly what you want to see here. Looks like he may be going and doing some additional looting here, or maybe just go to see if maybe there's a free fight down in Odin. Definitely some knowledge there. But yeah, Dingley having and just running through this gauntlet, he is going to be up in the fact that he's going to have that quake. So what the time that he is spending here may be a loss. He may have a net gain in the fact that his damage is going to be so very high when he hits underground.
But speaking of free fights, we find Bahamut at the King Queen Evelyn spot. Only 2 Star Veils, but that might be enough.
To be fair, what you could be doing here is you could get, if he had gotten a Bacchus from any of the other previous fights, he hadn't done. If he had gotten a Bacchus, he could have done Starveil and then Bacchus, and then he would have a forever lasting wall. But we do see here the fact that just the 2 nukes here, quad 9s, they're not going to take very long to get through here. I think Bahamut's fast enough in this spot where he shouldn't see anything more than the other flare.
Yeah, this is Star Veils do only last 50 ATB ticks, but I'm pretty sure Bahamut's fast enough where we are not going to get through 50 ATB ticks with more than 2. Oh, and Fleury did purchase extra Star Veils and I missed.
Oh, he must have grabbed them when he'd seen them in Silvara. But we do have Dingley going through, and looks like he is going to be taking... He looks like he summoned an extra Blade Man. I could be incorrect. But this is actually a place where if you're looking for a very, very cheeky grind to get yourself ahead of your opponent, this is a place to do it. These sorcerers summon one of 3 different mobsters. They summon either the Black Cats, they summon Mad Ogres, or they summon those Blade Men. Unfortunately, Fleury, for all his work, only gets a Bacchus, which I was talking about it. There it is. But does get that experience, which is very, very good on him. But yeah, you can get great experience from right there, just like grinding off those sorcerer mobs.
I believe Fleury is pretty close to Quake, so whatever experience Stone Dingley is gaining from going through this full gauntlet, they're losing on not having done that Baron Throne. Might have cost Fleury 9,000 gold in Star Veils, but that's probably something Fleury is happy to spend for the opportunity to go straight down to the underground, or to go to Ordeals and clear that out, as neither runners have checked all the bosses on Ordeals.
Speaking of, that's exactly where Fleury's going, and we're going to get a look to see who's up there and get spells for Tella online if we find him. Or maybe even turn that Cecil into a paladin if Fleury feels spicy enough to grab him on vanilla agility.
We do have a Kayn, a Edge, and a Rosa. There are far worse teams to go and take a Cecil on, because one of the things that makes Sid kind of bad is his agility. You can mitigate this by not taking Cecil and using anchoring strats where you manipulate the agility so all of your characters hit the speed limit, pretty much. But with a Cecil, you can't do that. Edge and Kayn are very fast characters naturally, so that doesn't hurt much. And then what does hurt is finding Golbez here, because he is going to take a lot of time for not much gain.
So I don't know about you, Baka, but I'm pretty sure that underground access can't be here, or at least one underground access. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV.
And Fleury's decided that no, we're not doing your deals. Goodbye. And yes, you're correct. The Valvalis and the Golbez could not go and gate the logical way underground, but we did go and fight the Karate, who had at Fabul, who gave the hook, and the fights in the hook route were the Gauntlet and the King Queen Eblin, neither of which are what we call the unsafe bosses, so the hook is a logical path underground. So is also going through Baron Castle, as we started with the Baron Key and had to fight Ashura and the Elements, neither of which are unsafe bosses. The only unsafe bosses are Valvalis, Golbez, and Wyvern. Hey, look, Wyvern!
Hey, I was wondering what was here, man. So we're seeing all three of the K unsafe bosses, and we also see another rude boss that's out of the group that we're kind of sad because we like seeing him in worse positions. That was Kainazo sitting at the mist location, so there is no vanilla D-Mist here. You can't find him there tonight, Flurry. But we are going to be seeing him go down, and runners basically being underground around the same time. Dingley a little bit faster after getting through that gauntlet, watching King Queen Evelyn do their little spiel. Actually grabbing up some kamikazes on Flurry's side. Generally good to have if you have to go through that through the music check later on.
Yeah, and they're pretty handy items. They make your character use self-destruct, so they will go and do their current HP and damage to their target. Very useful for that twin harp where you go and want to knock down your party as fast as possible. And also good for if you have a high-level Sid who is not contributing much else to the fight. His HP pool can turn into a weapon and be very helpful.
I mean, we've seen in the vanilla game he does like using bombs, so I mean maybe he's just really learned to weaponize them properly. But we do see Flurry getting underground, and Dingley is going to give us a check at what this vanilla rat tail check is, and it's an earth crystal. Two more characters, one more key item, and that's nothing bad to really see. Plus, we might get to play everyone's newly favorite game where we can rate a treasury and see what kind of goodies are in there. And with having an edge, that's a place you definitely want to check to see if you can find something like a Mirasame or even ninja swords.
Yeah, ninja swords, extra long swords, full moons, just so many good things. Even sorcerer robes would be nice to find. Stardust rods. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of things you can go and find and be really happy about seeing there. So I would not be surprised to see both of our runners go and rate that treasury.
Oh man, if only that Cecil was on the other side, that would have been very rude. But we do have Dr. Dialogue and DKC as King Queen of Eblin here tonight. That Cecil, I don't believe is going to do enough damage to be like very scary, but he's still going to pack a bit of a punch there. And Dr. Luge, that is a very high HP spot. When he gets off that laser, that is gonna tickle.
Yeah, but we do have the advantage that the HP is split across 4 different forms, so it's not as strong as it could be, but it is definitely not going to be a trivial fight to get through. And Fleury getting the same news that, hi, these are the bosses of Feymarch. Would you like to face it? No? Okay, goodbye.
Absolutely not. Yeah, that's a fight. Those are fights you go, you know what? That Cecil's doable. We'll talk later. Whereas the luggage, nobody likes sitting through Doctor Dialogue, even with that Thunderclaw that he's got. But that is an Ogre and Dwarf Axe, both sitting here in Feymarch. Those are two things you definitely want to grab for that cane. One to back
Yeah.
row glitch him, and the other one for if you decide you want to do a Mad Ogre grind, you do have that option available now. With 12 GP left, though, you are not buying much else.
Yeah, that I mean that longsword is also tempting because those are the best weapons you're gonna get for edge and shops, and double longsword edge will do about as much damage as, say, a defense sword cane in the end fight. So okay,
That's
maybe
true.
not quite that disparate, but it's not terrible weaponry. It is, however, more than Flurry's willing to spend, as we've seen where Flurry's priorities lie.
That's true, but with you having the Earth Crystal, the party rock, so to speak, that is less incentive to actually pick up maybe the long swords because you could either maybe find a ninja blade, as we were saying, find some better gear there, or if anything, you can at least bankroll your purchase of those long swords. Which I didn't know that those were the only ones you'd be able to find in shops here. I thought maybe we could still see ninja blades, but I guess
Nope.
that's me not knowing the weighting properly.
Ninja swords are tier 5 weapons. Yes, Rogue only goes up to tier 4. Drain spears are also tier 5. Drain swords, however, tier 3. Very good to know if you want to go and anchor with a Cecil.
Huh. Today I learned. I didn't know that they were that. The fact that they're that disparagingly of two items is pretty interesting, to be honest. But we do see Dingley making much shorter work of this Valvalis after being buffered out previously. Is going to find that life staff, but it looks like Flurry is going to go and see what Sheila 1 has. Yeah, Dingley sees that life staff, says, you know what, glad this was nothing, resets out, and we're going to see where he goes next.
Yeah, I think Dingley also went and did that Kabul check, or the Sylph Cave walk and is going to go and be seeing what Sheila 1 has right after Fleury.
Yep, so we're going to have our runners high-fiving here in the tower, but I want to give, right now, while this is happening, a big shout-outs to the guys who are running behind the stream. We have Neobari, who's rolled this fairly entertaining seed right now, and Chasman89, who's doing our tracking. And that is a great item for him to be tracking. That is Darkness, that is your moon access, and that is access to a grind. We find ourselves a Tella, we got ourselves a grind off going.
Fleury's got an Ogre Axe and Thunderclaw. That's enough to go and do an Ogre grind if you're feeling daring. You also do have Hallam with Stop, so if Fleury decides, yeah, let's just grind and go, he's not in a terrible position to do so, though I imagine Fleury might be more inclined to go and wait for 10 key items, as Fleury is at 6 key items so far.
True, but it looks like he's more inclined to go and check two different things. One being the characters in Zot, where Dingley is also caught on his heels, but two, we're about to play everybody's favorite game.
Great Vast Treasury!
And we're seeing some nice things. Stardust Rod, Earthhammer's okay. Lots of okay items here. The Dragon Whip is an interesting choice if we ever decide that we want to take Iridia. But Artemis Arrows. Poison Axe is a thing. Stone Dingley did not pick up the Ogre Axe, but also doesn't have the cane, so not as inclined to use that, I believe.
Yeah, overall, I'm rating that between 4 and 5, depending on what you want to do with those items, but fairly medium in there. Does mean that those long swords are more attractive on the table for Fleury if he does so go that way. But as an overall, the Assassin Daggers could be very good if we find another one of our last free boss in the form of the Dark Imps, because we found everyone else that those would work on everybody else. The stat sticks being in the Stardust Rod does again boost things up a little bit, but you're still looking at probably a very medium treasury for like the overall value. The nicest thing about that was just the sheer amount of chests that were there.
I mean, Fleury also got a fair amount of money, and let's not underrate those Artemis arrows. We can go and do extra damage to the D-Lunars, to Pal Dim. Dragon damage can be pretty helpful. If we find a Siren, that's a grind option if we can go and take a fight on the moon thanks to Dragon Weakness and Gold Dragons.
Absolutely. And Fleury spending some of his money getting some of those Star Veils may go and re-challenge this Golbez that's sitting here on ordeals that he knows about. Has more levels now, should be able to handle it with fair ease. Or it looks like he's possibly going to be grabbing and checking in that Darkness Crystal character.
I would not be surprised if Fleury is checking the character on the moon to see if it's Tella, because if the character on the moon is Tella, I believe you do ordeals and then grind.
But if the character is not Tella, do you then do Mac Giant prep and grind?
No, I think at this point you can do other checks. You can go and take experience one way or another, so you can probably get through Dwarf Castle and Top of Tower. That and even Zot can go and give you some stuff. So I would probably want to prioritize those before I do a big grind like Mac Giant, because Mac Giant, it's much harder to do quickly. Yes, we have Ogre Axes and Thunderclaws, and you're going to be doing some extra damage to them, but you're not going to be able to really one-shot them or get through them in one round even, so you're going to be having a bit of an awkward time dealing with those Mac Giants.
That's very true. You cannot one-hit them. You do have to hit them in multiple runs. We do have Dingley at least unlocking Baron right now, going to be checking some of the shops. So you have the world fully available to you right now. You have all the underground, you have all the moon checks available. After checking this character, where's your first stop, Baka? That's the real question here.
Ooh. This character is going to decide a lot. If it's Tella, I grind and then I just blow through. I blow through something quickly. Probably Dwarf Castle, maybe Feymarch as well. See if I can pull a Tower Key and clear that out. I'd probably check Sealed Cave as well if I'm Fleury, because that's on the table. This is not a Tella.
No, not a character you mind seeing Slingshot, but when you're looking for a Slingshotter, not exactly what you're looking for. But yeah, if we did get, say, a Tella and you're grinding and you're just going at that point, I still think your best option might be going underground and taking care of some of those checks. I'm still a big fan of doing the Fey March. I know a lot of people don't like it because it's long, it's out of the way, it's 2 bosses, and they're kind of rude. But think about it this way: there's people who don't enjoy doing those checks, and that can get you a really big leg up on the competition. And when we're looking for 2 to 4 key items right now, you could just get the Fey March, could get yourself Pinktail and Sand Ruby, and then you're done right there.
Yeah, we are only 2 items away from go mode. Well, potentially 2 items away from go mode. That Pinktail, that Sand Ruby, definitely being attractive. Though we do have the option of finding the Adamant and Legend Sword somewhere. If I was Fleury, I would probably feel a bit tempted about Earth Crystal for those character checks. If you get...
Go ahead.
I'm just thinking, like, if you get 10 key items, it makes D machines faster. Or it makes Max Giants faster. Excuse me. D machines, they'll also be faster, but the Tela is the big driver for that, I feel.
Absolutely. And the thing is with Fleury not even checking the King Queen Evelyn spot, we know that it's not there, but he could be looking for D-Mist here. Has not seen that, so it could still be hiding there. Whereas we could maybe find it in this back attack spot, could find it in Kluya's Shrine. There's a whole lot of places where it could be hiding out. You may even see it hiding out in the CPU spot. Unfortunately, we're not going to find anything really, really cheeky behind it. Although, in theory, we have not seen the Pan.
Correct.
The Pan could be guarding 2 specific key items. It could be guarding either the Sand Ruby and the Adamant, or the Sand Ruby and the Legend, basically where we could block out 2 different objectives. That would be very, very spicy.
Yes, that would definitely be the big spicy thing to get. And we're seeing the Golbez knocked out the 2 physical fighters, so the piggies are a lot less beneficial, as Piggy prevents you from casting spells that are not Piggy.
Yeah, but a couple quick life potions, and we're going to get back on our way. We're going to see, with the agility that we have here, this edge is just going to make very, very short work. And it may prevent you from casting spells, but it doesn't prevent you from using items.
Yep, and Stone Dingley getting through Baron Castle, finding that Rydia is going to see the Magma Key here, and is probably not going to be feeling so hot about their choice, just because that's something that has been open for a while and was not terribly rude, a lot less rude than the Elk Gauntlet they went through, and they may feel a bit behind.
Absolutely. And this Golbez is like, no, Edge, stop getting up. And every time that Fleury's trying to raise him to do any sort of damage, Golbez is just smacking him back down. Doing his best Garland impersonation today.
But didn't succeed knocking us all down, and Fleury's Paladin has Quake, so that is a big boost to Fleury.
And Dingley is getting that lovely news that he gets objective and he gets another form of underground access. We're going to see where he goes, because, again, we do have a whole lot of options available right now. Looks like he may be, in fact, following Fleury's footsteps and going and doing that Odin check, possibly, right afterwards, which we know, again, just the Bacchus wine. It's been very interesting to see. Sadly, we will not see the blade heard around the world.
No, we are not going to go and see the backwards in Tetsuken. I try and say that we're backwards, but I can barely say it forwards, to be honest.
I mean, absolutely. I used to pronounce it Zentetsuken, so I mean, I know that's very wrong. But yeah, this Lit 2, Quake, whatever you want to throw at this Odin, he's not going to be long for the world. He's going to take this, he's going to get knocked out, and we're going to be able to see what the next boss following is.
Yes, this was an absolutely shocking turn of events for Odin.
And whereas we have Dingley throwing up those star veils, if I just don't acknowledge them, does that mean they don't happen, Baka? Is that how that works? Is that the River's way of dealing with you?
No, the River's way of dealing with me is to go and say, yeah, you did that all right. Moving on to Kluya's Shrine. We see Fleury is going to be getting this key item from this location, while Stone Dingley is going and letting Bahamut go and Mega Nuke himself.
Yeah, whereas we see the spells coming out from Palom, and we have just a white robe, not something you really hear. I think, and the big thing is you're really looking for these tele spells, so you're kind of all in on that. And with CPU here, this is actually a boss to get out of the way in a decent spot. You're pretty happy to see here. Low HP, not gonna be too scary elsewhere, and could be just a whole heaping lot worse in a higher HP location.
Yeah, CPU with that wall and the back row makes them annoying. Makes them annoying for fighters because you want to berserk your fighters, let them hit faster and harder. You want to go and cast spells with your mages, but Wall says no, you can't do that, and Quake is gonna hit everything. And if you kill everything in that fight, well, CPU starts casting Globe 199, and that's usually just delete one character for a bit.
And we have a little bit of divergence, whereas we have Flurry doing that ordeals. We have Dingley going to be giving us a look at what Dwarf Castle's holding. Yet another character check that we don't know what's going on. So that's going to be the big thing. Is Flurry going to need to go underground and check Dwarf Castle following? Are we going to get a look at the Earth Crystal characters? That's the big bonus of like where this divergence is going to be and who's going to be making the right calls. Again, rando gonna rando. Every call is right until it's wrong.
Yep. Though they both could be right checks if, say, Dwarf Castle has the Sand Ruby and Earth Crystal has the Pink Tail. Both of those are objectives.
That's true, and we do have a very, very free boss sitting here in Dwarf Castle. That is the Water Hag. So 3 hits, that's done. We'd normally be calling out for Edward, but today we're going to be calling out for DK Doug. So we've got that call from Anna as we're going to see who's hiding behind Water Hag's sprite and who is cosplaying as Golbez today.
Yes, that if we went into the Zot check first, we would be able to see which the sprite of the boss who is going to be in the Golbez spot. And that can be helpful information sometimes, as it'll determine whether or not I will go there as soon as possible, or I see a blue robe and I know where Water Hag is, I'm not going there at all. And Fleury gets to be a lot more nervous about this blue robe because he doesn't know where Alt Gauntlet is.
Yeah, if you haven't found Alt Gauntlet, you just look here and go, oh, if I reset out of this now, I don't have to worry about this. But he's about to get the good news following right behind it, whereas Dingley is going to be getting some news that this is the last of our free bosses. So these Assassin Daggers is the last place to be taking advantage of that. That is yet another Palom. So that is a count of 3 Paloms in this seed so far.
Well, if you want a slingshot of Palom, you have that option, though. Pretty sure both our runners would prefer to leave their last character slot open for a Tela to do slingshotting.
Absolutely, and with the low HP here, Flame Quake's gonna make very, very quick work of these 2 bosses. This is not a Dwarf Castle that is ever going to be scary, no matter what your levels are. And even if you have like nothing but low tier J items, you can still make very quick work of what this was. Rosa's down doesn't get the experience, but we get it on the Palms, we get it on the Edge, and we're going to see what, in fact, the latest in Dwarven fashion is today.
I'm hoping for some musical jewelry.
I mean, music is always a good time. Again, I'm really happy when we get some level of vanilla. I would be happy to see a Spoon here because we already have the Luke at the Darkness. Spoon would be a good time just because it's like, well, that's a key item. It is good for the Edge to throw out Zeromus, but right now it's like, this doesn't help me right now.
Yep. Hey, that's, well, it's jewelry all right, but it's, not what we're looking for. That's a rune ring. That's not a key item at all. It is, however, a very nice piece of accessories for mages.
Well, Luca apparently liked us, so she put a ring on us. Yeah, the rune ring sadly has seen a lot of its use as it is. We've seen Asura, we've seen the Baron guards, so the big mages are out of the way. There is possibility of maybe doing some others later. But as for right now, no, again, you said it's got great stats in and of itself because that rune ring kind of lasts your characters up until about end game levels when you're using the diamond ring.
Yeah, it's as good as a diamond ring, and it gives +3 to both wisdom and willpower.
Yeah, both mages are going to love it. Looks like Dingley's like, you know what? I could go more places underground. Instead, I'm going to go straight to the moon. Is going to find that Moon Yang. and be a little disappointed, probably, or also maybe happy that he didn't cash that in to find Atella, which is non-existent right now.
Yeah, Stone Dingley is probably going to feel a bit safer knowing that Tello was not available for the time he did those other checks. And Fleury gets the Rune Ring and is off to another location. And where they go, I'm very curious.
To answer in chat, the racers have done everything the same, yes, except Dingley has not done ordeals, and that's the only. And well, Fleury has checked the Moon character and also Mist Dragon. Dingley has not seen that, but did see the Lunar Sparkle that was Wyvern that Fleury showed us. So Dingley is going to get this Moon check, whereas we're going to get another look at Zot this time. We're actually going to see the characters as opposed to just seeing what was in the treasury.
Yep, Fleury's again, I like this check because, well, Zot is a long and annoying check with cutscenes and 2 boss fights. It does go, and it's 2 characters. You would really like Atella. There's a trap chest that maybe you can hit, and that could have something good for you with a pretty easy item. Stone Dingley not going up ordeals, very interesting. We know it's not a high value play, but Dingley is Dingley going to be going, and did Dingley check this Moon character, or did they go to ordeals first?
They went to ordeals. They brought out the whale,
Okay.
went, checked ordeals, and was like, you know what? You're not Atella. I'm out of here. I honestly don't blame Dingley right now. Like, yeah, you've got 3 bosses and you've got 1 key item location there, but I'd say it's still a spot where you're more looking for your characters right now, whereas Fleury is eating his apples while he's going to go check what's going on in Zot from yet another vanilla trap chest. I think overall I kind of agree with ordeals. It's a possible good place, but you're more really looking for the Tella to make that the most attractive location.
Yeah, and Dingley going through the full cutscene for this Yang. I don't know if they're going to be taking them and doing a Max Giant grind, or if they're going to... Nope, they're not taking them. They just want to get this cutscene out of the way, because I believe they're planning on going into this moon at some point.
Oh yeah, with the way the checks on Earth are going, there are still a fair amount left. We do have open to us specifically Earth Crystal, Top of Tower, and the 2 Feymarch checks. We have 4 checks that are straight up on the table. So 2 key items in 4 checks is good. Whereas Zingli is being a little bold here. It looks like he's headed into Cave Bahamut. But Fleury has found possibly the most fun thing ever, D-Mist hiding in plain sight at the Magus Sisters.
This is probably the most rude and obtuse way to find your way underground, because you can get to this boss without the Earth Crystal. And if you've played a siege where you've exhausted all of your options and checked the Watery Pass and Mist Cave and not finding a D-Mist and having no way underground, you can be very confused. You can come here, find a D-Mist, and they will probably have your way underground.
Dingley sees that we have Dark Elf trying to be the king of all Eidolons and says, you know what? Maybe we'll deal with you another time. Rightfully leaves, because that is going to be a long fight there. Whereas Fleury makes very quick work of the Sea Mist and is rewarded. So Zot is very rewarding. 2 key item checks, 2 character checks right there, plus the loot that you got along the way.
Yeah, and I wonder if Dingley's seeing that neither of the character checks being Pella's will drive him there, but Dingley's going into this... Oh, Dingley never went and hit up these characters for Mysidia, and is finding a Bridia and a Porum, neither of which I believe you're going to take when you have access to multiple Palums and other characters.
And we see Fleury is finding yet another Porum that we have here. So I believe that is 3 copies of both twins that we've seen in this seed so far. And we are going to look to see who is being held hostage by this little white mage real soon. And that is another edge. That's not Atella, and you really don't have the gear to equip this one out.
Here's the thing. If you do a Mac Giant grind, that edge is pretty nice because Longswords are available for sale in Feymarch. We found Thunderclaws for sale. You can kit them out well enough so that they're doing good damage to those Mac Giants. And you might be okay with that, because you can buy a few extra longswords, and they're not amazing, but that's a way to kill Zeromus.
So Speaking of Mac Giant grinds and things that we weren't paying attention to, chat pointing us out to Stone Dingley's side. He took that Rydia. He has his full party. He's doing one of the two manips that we loved talking about here. He's doing the setup outside of Baron for that Mac Giant grind. That is very interesting right now.
Yep. And so, to explain what's going on here, for this tournament, we have turned on the E can't run flag, which means you cannot run away from random encounters. What we normally do when we're trying to go and do D machines or these types of grinds is we go into the Giant of Babel, we turn on encounters, we walk, we see, okay, I got this encounter, or I got an encounter at this step, I need to go and take this number of fights, run away, and there we go, we take our grind fight. If you can't run away, you don't want to take those giant encounters, they're actually kind of mean. So instead, what our runners have what our community has put together is a chart that tells you, well, if you go and find a fight on this step outside of Baron, and you take this many more fights, you can go to this location, and your next fight, after you turn off encounters and turn them back on in the Giant, will be your desired grind fight.
Yeah, we've had a great amount of people that have helped out on that just the amount of times. I know Accident did the original chart that you were talking about for the Giant itself, or was very, very instrumental in this. I know that Simbu and Twisted Flax were the ones who were mostly involved in this one. Simbu getting all the data and Twisted Flax making it so that it was readable to people like myself who are not great at reading certain charts. But absolutely very instrumental. Great the fact that they've done that, because I know that I've used both the D Machine and the Mac Giant grinds in this tournament very, very well. Fleury hopefully going to be rewarded with the D-Miss check, because just a ninja hat after that Mom Bomb, not really rewarded for doing this this Earth Crystal check, whereas Dingley with his setup might be a little bit ahead in that aspect.
Depends on how well they can do their grind, to be 100% honest, just because Dingley's going to be getting into their grinds quite sooner, but their team is going to have an interesting choice, and that's a Sand Ruby. That is one more objective for Fleury. They are potentially one key item away from Go mode.
Man, that makes Earth Crystal possibly required. The only way that I believe Dingley might have him would be oh no, that wouldn't even work. I was gonna say if we have both Pinktail and Adamant hiding somewhere on the moon, like in the D-Lunar chest, but even if they're both together there, that's not gonna help. But we are gonna get our first look at what character we could have seen really early, and that is our fourth copy of Porum. That is not an old man. The only place he could be right now is behind Package or behind the Giant of Babel check.
I have a feeling, this is just a feeling, Fleury is not going to be checking the Giant for Della.
I don't know. He's got access to that dark. Yeah, no, I don't think I've seen anybody check behind Darkness Crystal or behind the CPU fight unless it was absolutely required. And I don't believe that's even. Actually, enlighten me, Baka. Do you know if the CPU spot is a required boss check location?
For
objective-wise,
there is an objective to complete the Giant. So yes, you can go and be required to complete the Giant as an objective.
I always wondered if the CPU spot itself would be required, because that's technically a separate objective. It's just, I guess we could get into semantics of how it versus like the the complete Cave Magnus stuff, right?
Yeah, complete Cave Magnus and break the Dark Elf spell are two different objectives, because C, you can go and have win rather than Crystalon, so you could just simply win by playing the Twin Harp rather than going and play the Twin Harp, defeat the Dark Elf boss, and get the key item. But a Stone Dingley had issues and did not do their manipulations properly and needs to redo it, while Fleury has gone and purchased a Curse Ring, and I'm guessing they're going to... oh no, they're not going to Mysidia. They're doing more checks. They are heading south. They are heading far south. They are heading to the Sealed Cave.
Ooh, we're gonna get that Luca key turned in. Also, to answer a question in chat, is, have we seen the dwarf castle check? We have, and that was yet another Palom. So that's one of those things there. I didn't check to see, does Rosa have enough levels for wall yet?
I don't know. I think Rosa needs to be around level 30 for that, and I don't think Fleury is close to that. Fleury might just simply be going through, not taking the door grind, but going to go and run through this cave and check the key item in the boss.
That's true. This is the possibility that he could check this key item. If it is something that he keeps, then that's good. If not, then at least he has the option to save this for doors if he gets enough levels on his Roses so that he doesn't have to do a grind. Because, as we said, this is janky, but this is also a place where you don't have to do a whole lot of manipulation. It's just turning on and off encounters as you go through.
Yeah, and if this is Pinktail, Fleury knows exactly how much more of the seed he has to do, and it's not a lot. He might go and opt to do 1200 HP strats, or choose some other, maybe even do Palom virus strats, which get very interesting.
Indeed. And another question in chat is, can you enter the giant again after completing the giant? Yes, you can. So what happens is we have it so that you can access any key item locked location as long as you have the area unlocked already. Normally, you can't re-enter Zot once you've beaten it, but we can go back there in case you have, say, K trapped on or something like that, so you aren't permanently locked out of those locations. When we have a legend sword here, hold on, that is very, very bold to keep. Looks like Fleury is going to take that out, but he is one key item, one of two specifically, away from go mode right now.
Ooh, this Ogopogo might say come back later. And Fleury is resetting. I think Fleury's not going to try and bash their face against this because that's not a great fight. Huh? Maybe? Going and putting the curse ring on? You're going to be changing their party order, I'm guessing.
I was going to say, you do not want to get that that edge be in that middle slot for that fight. That is a no bueno, my friend. So
I
yeah,
believe
no,
it's,
I
I believe it is
definitely
the
agree with that.
second fastest spot in the game.
Probably,
Because
I
the
think-
Assure spot is the fastest, I think, at
yeah,
89
that
agility.
sounds about right.
But Ifwall also very fast.
Well, yeah, those punches are going to come out fast. They're going to come out furious. But Rosa has Blink, so that's not a big deal. I believe she is only still rocking Cure 2. He could have Cure 3 by now. I could be mistaken. But if he's
Rosa
got
does-
Cure 3, he's going to be perfectly fine.
Rosa does learn that reasonably early compared to Porum, or more to the point, Porum learns it incredibly late compared to Rosa.
Take your pick right there. But yeah, we have Dingley going to be doing a little couple of bluffs, getting up these blinks, which is going to be very, very beneficial and instrumental in getting these Mac Giant kills on the way.
Yep, blinks are pretty helpful. Not hitting with the Palms, which is a little annoying, as that goes and interrupts your order. Looks like Stone Dingley also has Charm Arrows on their Rosa, as she is going queued up to throw out some shots. Yeah, that's 2,000 damage. That looks like Charm Arrows.
Oh yeah, any damage you can get in addition to everything else. But yeah, we see a whole lot of damage coming out from people. Again, with Rosa out damaging Edge, that's a bit interesting right there, and kind of funny when you think about it.
I do believe that Stone Dingley has a Samurai Bow on Rosa, so getting a lot of strength on Rosa, and she is getting a quadruple multiplier. I think Edge might be using a Charm Claw instead of a Thunder Claw as well, so...
No, that was a Thunderclaw. That was not a green smack. It was the yellow of a Thunder.
Okay. I did see a Stone Dingley pick up a Charm Claw, so that's what I was thinking that. Meanwhile, Fleury is getting through the Zogopogo fight, throwing Cure 2s, Kane's taking some punches, but the melee fighters seem to be doing okay. Hallam is enjoying his life at half HP, now a quarter HP.
Absolutely, yeah. These hits here, not that bad. Palom is basically on medic duty here because you do not want to cast any spells on here. You're already being hit by the big wave attacks. You do not want to have another percentage HP in the counter blaze from any magic, including slow.
Yes, that is that slow is probably not going to be terribly helpful for this fight, as with relative agility 1 and how agility works, you're probably not going to be getting any benefit from it. But Ogopogo goes down, Fleury is through, Fleury has another key item, Fleury is up to 8 key items. If Fleury finds the pink tail soon, they'll be able to have 10 key items and be in go mode, because once you get that pink tail, that's 9 key items, turn it in, that's 10 key items.
Indeed, it's either, or if he finds the adamant, it's the same kind of situation. Or we could find the pan and then get us to another key item that way and go along another route. There's many ways for us to be getting this 10 key item mark here. I think there are 2 key items that can basically not get us anything for another one. That would be either the spoon or the package. We get one of those, and it's like, well, we got to go to another location as opposed to follow this chain.
Yep, that's so Fleury is really close to getting 10 key items. The pass is also an item that'll be in the key item pool, but does not count as a key item. That is in part due to the fact that the pass can either be in the key item pool, or we have flags put in shops, or put it in 3 random chests on the blue planet.
How entertaining would it be if he went to do Fey March and it was spoon and pass, or like nothing and pass? That's just like, hey, here's a half key item.
Yeah, that would sting a bit.
That would mean that the moon is in fact not fully haunted, unless we do have a tower and into a pinktail here. But yeah, it looks like as of right now, the moon has a good chance of not being required whatsoever. We will find out once we do this tower check to see if maybe Fine March may be more intriguing to the runners.
Yeah, this is definitely... It's not unreasonable to go and have moon not required because you can get 3 objectives on Earth with that Baron key leading into the Luca key that led into the Legend Sword. So Fleury is looking to be in good shape, though a Stone Dingley, once they complete their grind, is going to be able to get through these checks much faster. We do know Stone Dingley is probably not going to be inclined to do that Earth Crystal, which the Demist at the Magus Sister spot is one of the objectives, so they would need to find both objectives on the moon and then hit that sealed cave for the Legend Sword.
Yeah, that's where you get like the really, really tough, like, where do you go from here? What's your like, how are you going to take it from here? Which is going to be the most beneficial, and which is going to be something that's going to be like the bigger play versus what's going to be the biggest reward. We know what's the best way is to go underground or to go through that Earth Crystal, but with everything else, it's like there is no wrong path until you know the full path, which is always the worst part about it. Is like, am I doing the right way? Is this gonna be great? But speaking of great, we have Leg Day up here on the top of the tower. This has a very low magic spot. I'm honestly curious to see if Glare will even kill someone from this spot. That's not being Palom.
I think there's a good chance of Glare not doing much, as that Fire 2 to 4 characters did 33 damage.
16 to the mages. Come on, let's be real.
Ooh.
But yeah, I don't expect that to be doing a whole much, except for this Kane, who's going to be making very short work of this Ruby, popping out 4k damage per hit.
Well, that was 800 damage, so Rosa could also die to this Glare.
Yeah, depending on her roll, she could in fact die, but it looks like Kane and Edge will have no real problems taking any damage from it.
Yeah, and Palom has enough HP to be able to survive the split single roll of this Fire 2, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, he can survive a couple of them, but that Cure 2 is going to make it so he can just take all the abuse while Kane dishes out the damage.
Yeah, Rubicant is, the closing his cloak makes him absorb cold spells. Still weak to cold elemental weaponry, and there goes Rubicant.
Down he goes. There's some chunk of XP. That's in fact Ice 3 on the kid, and we are going to see what's hidden behind here. Oh man, that is a hard required thought. That means Moon has a very good shot. There's a hard required babble. That means that Moon most likely has nothing.
The most Moon can have is Adamant, and we can still have that in Fey March. Fleury, however, picking up that Pinktail, is in go mode. They have their final objective required, as we only need 3 of 4. They have a way to Zeromus, and they are about to get 10 key items, so if they want to grind, they can. But they may not be interested in that because they still have 4 slots open. They may choose to go and do 1200 HP strats. They may choose to do Eddy strats. They may choose to go and do Max Giants or take some encounters on the moon because they have melee fighters who can do a lot of work. Fleury has options.
And as we know, options are optional. Yeah, so you're sitting in Fleury's situation. You're comfortable with the 1200 HP strats. Looking at the team you already have, Baka, what is more attractive to you as an option? Do you go buy a bunch of Star Veils and buy vampires or heals, or do you just grind and go sort of thing?
That's how much money does Fleury have, to be entirely honest? That would be the main thing that would keep me from doing 1200 HP strats, because you need to buy a number of Star Veils, you need to buy a number of vampires, you want to buy more Cure 3s. Buy. Great for stock markets, not so great when you don't have the money to buy stuff. So we'll have to see it. Like, if this is a Crystal Sword or an Excalibur, there's money solved. If this is not one of those things, you may choose to just simply do something else. I wouldn't be opposed to taking 10 key items and just doing Berserker strats. You do have a Bacchus wine. If this is an Avenger, that can go and help you. Okay, it's an Excalibur, so I mean, it's an Excalibur. You could take Cecil and let him go
Let's go
to
grab
town.
that Cecil and slingshot that boy.
I don't know if you want to do a full grind. You might want to go and just take some fights on the moon. I have a suspicion that Fleury is not going to go for the big grind strats. I think Fleury is going to go for 1200 HP strats. I think Fleury is coming down here to do some shopping.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a shopping trip if I've ever seen one, especially without grabbing a fifth character. That's not a door grind. That is we're gonna get ourselves some levels. If he had gotten to Wall on Rosa, I could see a door grind maybe. But again, with the Darkness Crystal, you're looking at like so many other options open to you. Like the Max Giant grind is just right there for you.
Yeah, or I mean, there's 1200 HP strats. Fleury, I'm guessing Fleury is realizing that there are no vampires around, so might be going and determining their plans that way.
I am very excited to see what he finally ends up doing and who his next character is going to be. I would honestly bet a little bit of no, he's going up to the moon again. Is he going to grab that Yang? Because I think he reset out of it, didn't he?
I believe he did. He could take up that Yang and just level them up a bit. He can either do, I don't know if he's going to do 1200 HP strats or if he's just simply going to go and get some levels in there. Oh, he's checking the moon shop because I don't remember if he's checked it. I don't know if he's seen vampires there, but that is some stuff. Yeah, that's Fleury's not seeing any vampires. So you could take a Palom and get them up to 1200 HP and do left 1200 HP strats with Palom. Though then it might also be so convoluted where it's simpler to just simply take another melee fighter and go with them.
Yeah, we even see him hesitating. It looks like he's even just like, what do I do in this situation? See, this is where we talk so much about how beneficial Tella is. But if you hinge a lot of your seed around Tella and you're like, okay, I'm going to get Tella eventually. I'll do this and I'll do this. But if it's like, okay, I'm at the end of my seed, where's my boy? And if your Tella's not around, you have to completely rethink of exactly what you're going to do. And this can honestly kind of get you a little bit flustered at this point.
Yes, I think
Fleury here. Don't ever think like, oh, these guys. We talk these guys up very, very highly. Like Fleury, great runner. Dingley made himself through a very big, a very big set of gauntlet to get himself here. But this is what happens. Like nerves are still very real, even though this is game 1 of 3. This is still like runners are feeling each other out. They're like, oh, what do I do? Like nerves can change things here. And as we said, he didn't grab that Yang, so that was what he was going for.
Yeah, so that's either 1200 HP strats, or you could still be going and taking a grind. You don't have to, without Cecil, you don't have to worry about getting up to high levels. Rose is a good character. Get up to Cure 4, and you can go and survive fights. But yeah, Fleury's picking up the Yang, going to the moon, coming back to the moon, probably doing either a door grind or doing something else. No, they're moving off to, they're probably going to the lunar path for that trap chest. I am going to guess that we're going to see Palom go into the top slot, someone else wear a cursed ring, a Quake come out, kill all of these, and get a bunch of experience for these characters to bring Yang up to 1200 HP.
Yep, that's exactly what I thought for a second. Like, why would you take this fight? And that's a great way to go about it. Nice, easy XP. Even if he, say, stops him with Palom so he can get double XP off of some of these hair dryers, it's more than enough with what he'll need for this Yang, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, and not looking to go and quake them with Palom still in the middle, so the... I don't know.
Might just be beating it down because you have enough damage on this Yang and this Kane to be able to put these down. And even the virus with the curse ring should probably break a good 1500. But speaking of breaking, Dingley has put down his Searcher and is getting all these levels on his characters right now. I see White, I see Nuke, I see 54 levels on one of those Paloms. That Rydia is actually up for this, so he's letting every character get all these levels. Maybe
I believe
going
that...
with an edge anchor?
No, that was a 54 level Rydia, so the Paloms, I believe they had enough experience. Oh, let's see. Rydia getting double experience, that puts her around 1.5 million experience. That might not have been enough for the Paloms to go and get all the way to Nuke.
I see 53, and I believe that's 50, so the 53 on both of them, so they are Nuke
Okay.
levels. Yeah, there is nukes everywhere. This is legitimately power overwhelming, but with who is your anchor at this point, though? Like, that's the big question I have.
I don't think you anchor, but Stone Dingley is going to the moon. Stone Dingley is going to Cave Bahamut. Stone Dingley is unfortunately going down some rabbit holes.
However, remember, this is not a complete rabbit hole. This could, in fact, be the Adamant. He could then go down to Luca. He could make the right calls right here. Just because we're seeing is like, this is the wrong spot to go. With the knowledge that we have, yes, this is wrong. However, if he does find the Adamant here and then he just leaves the moon immediately, he could get very, very lucky in his decision-making. Probably not, because like once you come up to the moon, you kind of commit to going through it. But again, who knows? He could do the one-off check, cave value. Something of value is always here.
Yep, they could go and find... I mean, the only thing they can find on the moon is the Adamant, because we know that the Sand Ruby and the Pinktail are on Earth, and the Legend Sword is also on Earth. So the more Stone Dingley commits to this, the more they're probably going to be losing ground, but they are going to be going and getting... They're more than ready for Zeromus. It's just a matter of getting their crystal. And as you said, they might not go and do this. You don't have to go and do too much here. You can go... I would not be surprised to see him do the top.
Did you see that value from the chest that Fleury finished?
That was a very nice Masamune. I expect we're not going to see it used.
I mean, you never know. We could see that. Nah, I agree. However, we do see 2100 HP on this Yang. That's the HP we're looking for, and Fleury could be going and selling things and getting stuff through. But I am very curious to see if he's going to be committing to these strats now. May change up his plan. You never know.
Yeah, there's a very special calculus you do to go and try and decide what is going to be faster. Do I just take levels? Do I do these strats where I need to do a fair amount of shopping and prep work? It's hard to go and choose that just because there's a lot of things. But Fleury is going to this store in Silvera, which we know has Star Vals.
This basically means that he's going and doing the 1200 HP strats, whereas Dingley is making very use out of the fact that the boss bit leaves the Dark Elf in that second form, gets through this Bahamut Cave check very, very quickly. So that is another rabbit hole key item you don't want to see when you know exactly where he needs to go. That could possibly push him towards full tower, though.
Yes, that can push him towards tower, which would get him a pink tail if he does get full tower. That would be very beneficial for Dingley. I hope he goes and follows this rat tail or this tower key to get that pink tail and get an objective on the board. We still need them to go to Zot, which is not a check you're likely to make, especially when you pick up your Lunar Whale and move it in front of the Lunar Palace.
That's the wrong castle. The other castle's in the sky, my friend. But no, he's making checks which make very much sense.
Yes.
As far as you're seeing, you have say you put yourself in Dingley's checks right now. You have Luca, you have top a tower now full tower. You have Fey March, you have Zot. That's 4 checks versus the 7 here on the moon. You have Cave Bahamut, you have Masamune, Mirasame, Crystal, D-Lunar, um, White Spear. Yeah, you have 7 checks versus the 4. In theory, number-wise, this is the better play for him to be doing, especially after doing that grind. You have Power Overwhelming. Make very good use of it and just destroy the moon. This is honestly a very smart play from him. We just know that unfortunately nothing leads from it.
Yeah, this is the numbers play. The biggest argument I have against doing moon on these flags is just the fact that there are 7 checks here, and it's a 3-minute walk down to the bottom of the moon where 5 of them are. You make a big commitment doing this, and if Earth holds a fair amount of value, even if it holds just one of those key items, you need to go and find 2 objectives up here. If your opponent finds 1 on Earth and then comes to the moon, they can bail after finding 1, which is a very big difference here. And that is something that can go and make this a very scary play. However, a Stone Dingley could feel behind, could feel that they need to take some big risks against a player of Fleury's caliber, and I agree, this is definitely not a bad play. It is just unfortunate. We are crystal knowledge that this is not going to do Stone Dingley any favors.
The way that this could really make it up for him is the fact that 1200 HP strats are not fast. They take a solid 10-ish minutes to do. So, like, Fleury is still, like, in a spot where he is going to take some time to get through this. Dingley can, if he does say find a pass, he could absolutely just get that and go. No, he sees that first boss, like, you know what? I'm out of here. And he just leaves. That is very, very interesting because you have, like you said, we still got, what, 6 more checks in this area, and the fact that he's leaving the moon to go down to Earth, that's very interesting in my opinion, but very, very bold call for him. And I'm glad that we're glad from a viewer's side because we could have a race here, folks.
Yep. This is, as I said, it takes 3 minutes to walk down to the bottom of the moon. It does not take 3 minutes to go and check the Masamune spot or the Murasame spot. And Dingley's going to the tower. That is 2 checks. I like this play because this goes and cuts down his exposure of if my opponent stand on Earth, they're going to go and hit these checks. You can catch up time here, and you can go and cut back on some of that exposure. And if Tower Key gives Adamant, Stone Dingley is a trip through sealed cave away from go mode.
Right, with him underground, the Tower Key does, the Luca Key does in fact pose a more attractive option than this, than the Earth Crystal, and especially if this is exactly Adamant here, he sees the legend, he's go, I am not resetting out of this, and he just keeps it, and he just goes 100% at that point.
Yes. We do need Dingley to do the full tower play because we know that Pinktail is up top.
He could in theory play the very quick route, be very lucky, and go top of tower, or go half tower, which could give Adamant, Luca Cave, which gives the Legend Sword, and then do Earth Crystal, which gives him the Sand Ruby. So we'd have 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 2, and 4 instead of 2, 3, and 4.
Yep. But hey, we got some flags coming out in chat as Fleury is walking down through the lunar core towards Zeromus.
Sorry, who now? I'm a little more busy in these checks. What are we doing on?
Oh yeah, I guess we're going to find Zemus down there. And we're going to use a crystal, and we're going to turn Zemus into something. But it's not going to be Zeromus necessarily, because this is a randomizer. How can we go and have Zeromus in this as the final boss? We need to go and spice things up a bit. But we don't want to go and move him around or anything, because that script is that script's a bit nasty, and we don't want to go and introduce it to you in Antline Cave. So instead of changing where Zeromus is, or where the final boss is, we prefer to go and give him a little bit of a makeover. Make him a little bit prettier, or a lot less pretty, as some of them have shown. But Daphis, would you be so kind as to do the honors?
There is the very important question that everyone has been asking, and that is, whose butt is Fleury going to be kicking tonight?
450 different butts to be kicked, prepared by Boardface and Scalikitty. This is one of our favorite parts of this randomizer, as we never know what we're going to get until we go and throw that crystal.
Yeah, and that's a nice thing. As you said, Scala Kitty and Board Base did a lot of these. The amount of work that Scala's done from different resources, be it pop culture, other video games, it just like there's so many great things out here too. And there's a lot that we haven't seen either, which is honestly the best part about this is because we're just like, what's here? What could we find? It could even be a box. You know how much I've wanted one of those.
I mean, a box
Wait,
can be
is a
anything,
box
right?
cool?
It could be a box of rocks.
I mean, rocks do fall in this fight. Yeah, Fleury throws out the crystal. We're going to see the true colors of Zeromus.
And meanwhile, Stone Dingley gets the pink tail and will be walking out of this tower. We'll see what they get there as we find the Dragon Lord from Dragon Quest 1.
Yeah, I think this is the wrong randomizer going on here, but I'm honestly here for this. It's a really adorable sprite. I like that. That's I think one of the first times I've personally seen this one.
I've seen it once or twice before, but it's definitely a very cute sprite. And it does seem fitting to go and have... I mean, granted, we have far more HP than any warrior in Dragon Warrior would have, but, you know, we're playing a more advanced game here. We're playing one that goes above and beyond. That has this fancy ATB system. We can't be held down and shackled to small numbers like 160 HP.
Whoa, hold on. So this is actually the first crossover we had with Dragon Quest. Second being that push B to jump. So I mean, maybe this is where the influence is really from.
I mean, we don't know. But Fleury going and making a slight menuing error, going and throwing out the Echo Note, but you need to remember to move them over to the enemy because they default to your side, which is a small problem with those.
Yeah, if you just mash through your menu real quick, because again, nerves are a big thing. Dingley, though, finding a fairly big item, he does find the pass. That's fairly huge for him. It's not going to make up the time with Fleury already in this fight, but it is still a very big item for him to be finding. Whereas Fleury is getting these Echo Notes thrown out and getting through this part with quick ease here.
Yep, and throwing out Quakes. They're going to go with Quake strats where Palom is not guaranteed to survive the first Big Bang because Palom does not have 1200 HP. Palom has 1000 HP. But Quake, when you bluff up a bunch with Palom, still going to do large amounts of damage. Can probably hit somewhere between 5,000 to 7,000.
Absolutely. He's got to get that damage out while he can, because if he's not going to... Oh, he might even get it out right now. That's a bit of a rough time.
Well, doesn't take down Palom, so Cure 3s are going to be coming out and healing the team.
Absolutely. This strat, the benefit it has of being low level and quick in the sense of like you get it done earlier, you also get the fact that it's just like it's so expensive. You have to throw out Cure 3s, you have to throw out the fact that you have the Starvilles themselves. It's overall an expensive fight. Edge is going to make it a little bit faster with the fact that he can throw the X-Cal and throw his own Moss Immune that we found. But yeah, it's nothing really that we're going to be looking forward to.
No, and yeah, Edge is throwing out some extra damage. That is definitely going to be helpful for this fight, as damage is a bit of a premium here with just relying on a lot of reflected nukes and whatnot in Palom. So any damage you can get is good unless you tip, because one of the things these strategies rely on is that you do not go and trigger a special counterattack. While we like to see the nuke counterattack, there's another counterattack that Zeromus does where to go and stretch out his HP, Zeromus goes and refills his HP to full after a certain point, which you think, wow, that's absolutely busted and sounds cheating. How did I ever beat this boss as a child then? Because that sounds unfair. Well, the first time you do 45,000 damage to Zeromus, Zeromus will go and make it so the next instance of direct damage goes and causes a counterattack. That refills his HP, and then he moves to a different script, so he'll only do that once. It'll take him up from about 61,000 HP to an estimated total of about 105,000. However, reflected spells bypass counters, so if you go and do not quite 45,000 damage, and then just get all of your damage reflected, Zeromus isn't going to go and counterattack with that HP refill. And because you can go and trigger the counter nuke without triggering the HP refill by throwing these Echo Notes, you're not going to go and get that refill, you're going to go and make Zeromus reflect kill himself effectively.
Yeah, it is really interesting the way counterattacks work and how certain things can bypass them. Like, for example, there are a lot of bosses that only trigger counterattacks on the fight command. Jump, power, such like that, those don't trigger it. So this is the same kind of concept. It's also how you can kill elements in their first form. It's the same thing, just cast Fire 3 over and over on the reflective wall, and you'll get through that HP right there, so you never see a second form. It's in a low punch area, then that's always something that you can enjoy seeing.
Yep, or if you're going and exploiting that, because that first phase of elements is undead, you can use Wizard Hats and Crystal Armor to go and really boost your resistance to undead punches, doubling your defense, and can really save your hide. I've gone and used that to take Tella to get me through an elements fight in the Leviathan spot.
Hey, Blinking Wall, it can work.
But we see Fleury is making decent progress to this fight, going through its spells. They've done a fair amount of direct damage, but I do not believe they have gone and gotten close to that refill yet, as I think they still have direct spells coming out. But they might be close, as they have done a fair amount of damage already.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen anything past the virus, so he's still... Oh, that was a low roll for that Palom. Oh, man.
Palom's a mage. One of the things about this fight is that when you go and trigger a counter nuke and get what we call a nerfed Big Bang, the Big Bang's damage potential goes down from a maximum of 24 to 2700 damage to 1200 damage. That is because, as we've said earlier, the number of your magic power determines the number of rolls that you get for the spell. And if you go and bring it down low enough, well, you can only hit certain maximums and your damage is just in a certain range per roll. There's another way to reduce the damage, and that is with Magic Evade. Monsters don't have it, but our party members do. And your Magic Evade is based on your willpower plus your wisdom divided by 32. That is the number of chances you get to dodge magical attacks. As you imagine, Callum gets some pretty good Magic Evade rolls, especially when he's equipped with things like a Stardust Rod.
Yeah, Stardust Rod, I believe he's got a Wizard Robe on too, and that Rune Ring we were talking about earlier, all enough to give him nice little chances of dodging. It's also why Porum seems to be doing a whole lot more dodging than Rosa does. Like, Porum has like less stats overall than Rosa, but she seems to have the more multipliers to give her the chance. I've seen her dodge way more like mega nukes and such like that than I've seen Rosa ever dodge, which is very interesting.
Yep, that's definitely one of those things that can come up. Another, trying to expand on the dodging rolls, every 32 agility, you do also go and get a Magic Evade multiplier, which is how Edge usually goes and gets any chance of dodging magic, because he's usually not getting that high in the wisdom and willpower multipliers.
Absolutely. And we have Stone Dingley. He did fully clear the Fey March, as we've seen on screen. He got nothing but a spoon for his troubles, which he reset out of. And now he's in the right spot. He is fighting this Ogopogo, and he's going to be getting some spells taken care of. And as we mentioned before, Ogopogo counters spells with Blaze. However, if they're reflected spells, we don't see that magic counter.
Reflect strats, not just for the final boss. Yes, reflect strats are very helpful when you have mage heavy teams and you need to get through some pretty rude bosses. Cure 3's very helpful because cure spells will be reflected by your wall. But, well, potions don't care about walls, they're just potions.
Dingley even making good use of the slow spell here. Yeah, this has got a lot of speed here, and you're not going to be dealing much outside of the nukes, but every little bit so that Rydia doesn't get smacked around and then waved on is anything that you really want to see, as we already are in the second set of the first set of second waves.
Yes, Ogopogo's script is open with double big wave, punch 3 times, go to single big wave, punch 2 times, go back to double big wave, and repeat. I may or may not have spent too much time around the Ogopogo fight to go and have that memorized. He was my first Hook boss, and it was a very unpleasant fight.
Yeah, I'm that way with the Odin fight script. I've done my best to make sure I'm really good at getting the quick kill with Eddie. I have had that save me so many times with the having illusions, taking the 2 hits, running and hiding as he comes and does Zenitsuken, which that's always fun to get the swag kill on that. But we do have the fact that he gets through, is getting his Legend Sword, and is running around and pretty much finding all these right loopholes. He kind of saw the moon, and was like, you know what, we're going to leave this, and he's been making pretty much good check after good check. Again, Fey March is a part where it's like, you have power overwhelming. This is the best time to take care of it. If it's nothing, that sucks, but at least you are guaranteed, you know it's nothing, as opposed to, is Fey March something, in the back of your head.
Exactly. And astoundingly, alright, so there is one last rabbit hole. It's the Twin Harp. So Adamant could be at that point, but otherwise it's either behind Rat Tail, which is a quick check, Pan, which is a quick check. So if Stone Dingley goes back up to the moon and hunts that Adamant, they have a decent shot of either finding it outright, or going and getting that, or they're going to Zot. They're just going straight to Zot as Fleury is continuing their fight. So a Stone Dingley is catching up. He's going to go and get the same go mode that Fleury did.
Exactly, yeah. He's getting this. He's making the right calls, which is the best part. He's leaving the pink tail for a last check, because he could get the rat tail, which could then do a double right there, which makes perfect sense. If you don't have to go check the pink tail because you don't need the item there, why bother grab it now?
Yeah, there's very few items you'll get for a mage team that you'll think, yes, give me that item. The best you're going to get is White Shirt, maybe a Stardust Rod. When you're a melee team, you can get things like Avengers, Excaliburs, Masamunes, not Gungnir's, White Spears. Actually, can you get White Spears from that? It's tier 7 now, excuse me, so it's not. Either way, you get a lot of good things, but Dingley is going up here, but Fleury has finished their Zeromus fight with their 1200 HP strats. They are clocking in with an official time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 35 seconds. GG's to Fleury. We'll see if he is available for an interview.
Absolutely, yeah. Get your GGs out in the chat. This is round 1. That's a great way to bring out your first round, showing those 1200 HP strats. These runners have put on one heck of a show. You guys should definitely give them a follow, whether they do their pickup races, whether they do their other races. They're great fountains of any information, and that's the greatest thing about this community. You can come in here with zero information whatsoever about what to do with a randomizer, or even how to play Final Fantasy IV, and there's so much between the beginner guides and everything that people like the person who just joined us, FF4FE, will help us out. GG's, my friend, on your finish.
Thank you. Yeah, that was definitely an interesting race.
How are you feeling doing those 1200 HP strats when you had 10 key items in Darkness, but no Tella?
Not great, but I think Dia and Zilch are starting to rub off on me. After doing like enough races and like discussing how to optimize certain situations, it's like, sure, I could do a Mac Giant, and I could have either slingshotted Yang or grabbed Palom and did like a Sylph Cave just to get him to Virus. Like, I had a good Mac Giant party, but I'm like, I'm not a huge fan of Mac Giants that much, which is kind of why I didn't do it early as soon as I got it. And then, yeah, just like if I can get away with like shaving off that 10 minutes and, worst case, my Z fight is around 13 to 14 because I didn't have vampires. And a standard Zerker Z fight for me is usually around like 5 minutes. I was like, all right, I think I'm making up the 8 minutes by not grinding. I think it's probably a wash. But yeah, it's one of those things I kind of feel like for this tournament you have to have in your pocket to be able to do. Especially if you end up in a situation where you don't feel like you're ahead, or at least, I guess more accurately to say, you don't not feel ridiculously behind. And yeah, so it was probably a wash. I I did make the mistake of not marking off the Legend Sword on my tracker. So I had shown myself with 9, but I noticed almost immediately afterwards that I had 10. So yeah, not seeing vampires, maybe I should have grinded, but alas.
I was curious if you were going to go and if you recognize you had 10 key items, would you have considered going and doing like Behemoths in Cave Bahamut, or taking some fights down the bottom of the moon to get up to Berserker strat levels, or would you go and do something like Door Grind?
Nah, I think if you, even at 10 key items, if you have a 1200 HP party, the only thing that's going to gain you time is a D machine. Like if you have a great Mac Giant party, I think you could make it a wash. But the alt grinds are good, I think, to get up to a certain point. I don't think they are faster, but I could be wrong about that. Also, getting 2 dartables right before hitting go mode kind of pushed me in that direction as well. Like I can push myself 10 HP closer with the X-Cal and the Masamune darting. So let's just do that.
That makes a lot of sense, because I imagine any extra damage you can get early on in that fight is a real premium for those strategies.
Yeah, I kind of wanted, and I'm still going to go back in the seed and see. I had a Unihorn. I wonder if, and I had a Bacchus, I wonder if Zerking Edge and with the Masamune long and going with that and seeing how much HP I squeeze out and then trying to nerf the next one while I have Starveil set up, if that ends up being faster. Like I still have a whole lot more research to do this. I'm sure, well, D is racing right now, I think. If Zilch is watching, he was probably disgusted at how I actually pulled those off. So it's a work in progress. But yeah, that's one of the nice things about this flag set too. Like, I think all of us who are at least even made it just to the round of 16 had probably put in the neighborhood of at least 100 practice seeds. And to have a flag set where I personally have probably done close to 200, and still say, yeah, you know what, I need to work on this, is a pretty good testament to the flag set.
That is, I don't want to count how many table seats I've done, so I will definitely agree with you. This flag set has been very good at forcing a lot of awkward choices. And speaking of awkward choices, how did you feel about your character choices for this seed?
Regretted not taking second Palom about 10 minutes into the seed, and then felt okay with it about once I got to Quake, it was okay. Because yeah, you could have had double Palom Bluff Twin, and other than Val, I probably find a way to mistime that. But the other fights go a lot faster. Even without great weaponry, Edge is kind of pretty good, but I had just seen a Mute Dagger in the shop. I knew Asura was required, or at least behind an objective. And I don't like life locking any spot when I'm doing like 300-400 a turn. So getting an Elven Bow and a Mute Dagger on Edge just to kind of knock that out would be great. And yeah, it worked out. It wasn't optimal. I think the best plan is probably to take second Palom. I still tend to go back and forth on whether or not you hold out for Atella. When you're like 7-8 character checks in, I probably shouldn't have, but hindsight, we didn't see Atella, so.
Yeah, and I mean, if you had Atella when you found Darkness, would you have gone and done a D machine grind right then and there?
Absolutely, yes, 100%. I would have done a D machine grind. I probably still go back to Earth.
Yeah.
And it probably ends up losing me some time because Pan was behind the Feymarch, but because the Feymarch bosses weren't that difficult, we had a decent amount of checks on Earth, but there were still Harp and Pan at the time were still out there. So I'm like, if those are both on the moon, I'm gonna have to chase those. If Moon doesn't have everything I've ever wanted, how you can't make up that difference. So
yeah, how did you feel when you got a ninja hat, but the D-Mist at Magus Sisters gave you the Sand Ruby?
That was pretty good. If Marty is in chat, I'm sure his you should go into a match and do immediate Maga Sister spot to find a demist play would have been a riot. Ninja Hat didn't feel great, but at the same time, like, what else was there really to do at the time? Like, Dwarf Castle was free, but that gave you, I think, a rune ring or something.
It gave you a
else
rune
like
ring.
that. Yeah, so, Keyless Tower, oh boy. Luca Cave, well, all right. Enjoy that Ogo. It's not like there was that much else. So I had a feeling my opponent would also have done Zot.
But that
before
Fame Arch,
going-
though.
I thought about it, dude. I was like, if I get a decent enough roll, I didn't know what the exact damage numbers were. I was kind of estimating around 800. I was like, that's just under. Yeah, but I was going to do Fame Arch before going Moon. With a Thunderclaw and then a bunch of Cure 3s, yeah, Fame Arch wouldn't have taken long.
Yeah, that Cecil was doing about 700 per Dark Wave when we saw on Stone Dingley's side, so not too far off on your estimates.
Yeah, that's. I heard Dingley did the hook route.
Yes, he did.
Which is a bummer and is probably the difference in the race. But that also probably puts him at the levels where he could do that DKC.
Oh yeah, he was Quake by the time he was leaving that the alt gauntlet. So he was what you did in the Magma Key route. He had gotten his power overwhelming, kind of for the underground area at least, through that gauntlet. So he made it through very easily.
Yeah, because that's one of those where your good fortune of having all these levels, like, oh, now I can do, especially if you found a Thunderclaw, like now that Luge is super free, like, oh, that had the pan, and who knows where that takes you. So yeah, that ended up being a blessing in disguise for me for not being able to do the Fame Arch, but I totally would have done it before going Moon.
I believe the log showed that the Adamant Grotto had the pan.
Okay.
Spoon from the Leviathan
Yeah, it was
spot.
Spoon
Spoon,
and Package
okay.
were in Fame Arch. DKC had Package, Luge had Spoon.
That's
No
That's
progression
actually
there.
not too bad. Yeah, that. Granted, I did because it was low enough on my priority list, but that almost guarantees you 10 key items before Moon, and that's always a good place to be.
That it is. Well, as Stone Dingley finishes off here with an official time of 1 hour, 48 minutes, and 44 seconds, Dathis, do you have any final questions for Fleury?
No, I think you guys pretty much went over anything I wanted to ask.
Fleury, how are you feeling going into the second race in the series, being up one game?
Pretty nice, but you still gotta bring the proverbial A game. Like, I lost my first match in the last round, and so did Dingley, and we both came back to win 2-1. So it ain't over. Just gotta keep on keeping on, right?
Can't let us Gilgamesh boys down. We get back our fight. We get our fight back when we're up against the walls.
There you go. Well, Sylph group is pretty good too. Although it's kind of odd to take the Sylph group and I never take Iridia, so whoops.
Well, then we're going to be letting you go. Congratulations on your win, and we'll be looking forward to your next race. When is that, actually?
That is Thursday, same time. So, yep, we'll be doing it that Thursday at 4 o'clock Pacific. And yeah, appreciate you guys taking the time to do commentary and appreciate the restream and tracking. I've probably rambled on long enough. You'd think I'd do comms with how much I keep talking. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for putting on a great race. As that was FF4FE, the winner of this race, and we are now joined by Stone Dingley, who... How are you feeling after that seed? I don't want to start on a low note, but how did it feel to find that magma key?
Just take it.
Oh, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was.
I kinda agree.
I the one thing I figured was thinking about it. It wasn't too hard of a hook route. King Queen at Ruby. As soon as I saw that and I saw the edge, I thought I hit the jackpot. That it was going to be a hook route seed, and that diving early had paid off. And I gotta say, the levels at least paid off, because when I went back up and did Baron and all that stuff, just chewed it up with 2 Quake kids. But seeing that Magma Key, ooh, I just knew Fleury'd be ahead of me.
Yeah, that. When we saw that come up on Fleury's screen, we were, oh, that was a big thing for Fleury. Unfortunate for you, but you did make good use of those levels. You really went through and just cut through checks on the Earth for a good time. What drove you to go and do the Match Giant grind when you did?
Oh, it was that Magma Key. I figured, oh crap, Fleury's probably had an extra 10 minutes to do Earth checks, so my best bet right now is to go do a Mac Giant grind, and then just head to the moon and see what I can find. But then, as you notice, I only did the first two top things on the moon because I forgot I didn't have exits.
Ha!
That's what made you do it. We were wondering because I was like, why is he leaving so soon? That is a very good reason to go back there. Yeah, so that's the real question I have about the overworld. You have the Barren Castle check completely open to you. You have the mute daggers that are sitting in Evelyn Cave shop, and then you have this edge that just it falls into your lap. He makes a lot of the overworld checks really free. What makes you go directly to this hook route as opposed to checking more of the overworld? Like maybe go refight that Valvalis because you have power now, or go do Barren Castle looking for a magma key as opposed to committing to that hook.
Well, seeing that King Queen Evelyn at the Ruby spot was really what did it for me. I figured that's at least one free fight, and if I take the Mad Ogre chest, I can get some levels up on my mages and probably make that first fight fairly easy too. And again, just a little bit, I didn't have exit, so it was going to be, I didn't want to have to walk back out of the cave. I figured, yeah, what the heck, let's make a gamble.
Take a chance, make it happen, spin the wheel, round you go, and you did not land on a very nice tile there.
No, not this time.
When you saw the Alk on it, did you have any pretensions of maybe I should just leave and come back later, or were you feeling that, you know what, the worst thing this is a bunch of free experience for my team?
Definitely the latter.
That makes a
Just
lot
getting
of
all
sense.
that experience, getting Quake on both Palums, I figured, yeah, this is a great source of experience right now, actually.
That certainly makes a lot of sense, and I do appreciate the heads-up play of leaving the moon without exit. I have more than once walked down to the bottom of the moon, cleared it out, and it's like, all right, time to leave. Where's the exit button?
No,
I didn't
Tele.
bring the
Everyone
exit
takes
button.
Tele for granted.
Ironically, because of that, because I only had Rosa, I almost went straight to Zod after checking Tower Key. It was in the back of my mind, but I just figured, you know what? There's more checks down underground. I should probably do that first. Because it'd just be so fast, right?
It was actually really interesting. While you were in the moon and you got the first bosses out of the way, we're just like, man, we just wish we could will you down, and then you just started going underground. Like, are our prayers answered? Can he actually hear us? And yeah, it was just so stark because normally people will commit hard to one area or another, and it's very interesting. The fact, and good, as Baka was saying, very heads up that you remembered. Oh, I don't have exit. Let's go get that because that's a big thing there. But yeah, so you're looking at the characters you have. Why kind of like sleep on Kane, seeing that you've got the Valvalis fight? Like, why we had fairly different parties between you and Fleury, but what drove you towards more mage heavy versus what you ended up with?
Well, having that starter Palom and then finding a second Palom, I mean, that's a great way to start the overworld. You've got their twin magic that guaranteed good damage. I grabbed Rosa, and then didn't even bother to save outside of Antlion because I figured, what are the bosses that could possibly get in my way at this point? And I forgot Val takes very little damage from magic there.
Yeah, Val is I've learned in my experience to never go and take for granted what could possibly stop me here, because the seeds are very great at finding ways to go and get stopped. I have had an experience where I've got a Palom with tier 2 spells. What could possibly stop me? Paladin says hello.
CPU says hi.
And I've also come to like having Edge as my anchor for reflex strats. I know it sounds funny, but at level 52, he has 42 agility, which puts him at, I think it puts Z at relative agility 3. And that
Would be
makes actually
correct.
for a really good, easy fight. And you don't have to worry about keeping him down for most of the game.
That is some very good heads up knowledge, because I'm not gonna lie, I do not know exactly where Edge's
I didn't even know that
breakpoints
either.
are. I have
I
gone and
absolutely
taken-
had it open on my screen.
Yeah, that's I've done a solo edge fight where I brought him all the way up to equal agility to Zeromus, but that's a bit of a different thing. So that is another good heads up thing. You having those resources available to you and open to help you plan out your team is definitely a good choice in this matchup. And I mean, really, it came down to the alt gauntlet and those moon checks that didn't pan out, or the big spots where you could say this is where you lost time. Otherwise, you had the better overworld with the double palom and the twin magic. So definitely the 10 minutes go and do not belie the difference in your skill. They belie in the difference in the number of checks you made more than anything.
Well, at this level, what is it? I always say it's luck, but luck is when skill meets opportunity, right? So when you're playing against someone like Fleury, who's really good at the game, it's just at some point those opportunities, like those chances that you take, end up adding up. And I definitely took a lot of chances that just didn't end up paying out this time.
I will definitely agree.
Yeah, so you're sitting at 0-1 now. What are your thoughts on going to game 2? Are you going to be doubling down on your practicing, or just how are you feeling going into round 2?
Oh gosh, I'm so far into the tournament. I am like 3 tiers past where I thought I'd be, so I am just relaxed at this point. I'm like, I can't imagine going any further, but that's what I thought after I lost my first match last round, and that turned out okay. So either way, I'm looking forward to the coming matches, and I would be just fine having some more time to watch the rest of the matches.
I know that feeling.
Same though. But yeah, so you've come very far. You've done great. You put on a great show for us. Again, GG's on your finish. Great for finishing up the seed, considering where you were. And I am excited to see you hopefully go the distance with Fleury, and and hopefully take down, because we got to see Gilgamesh make it to the finals.
That's right. I mean, without you here, I got to represent the group. I got to get us at least up there into the semifinals.
Yeah, buddy. But yeah, again, GG's, well played, and we look forward to match 2 on Thursday.
All right, well, and thank you guys very much. Thank you, Dathis, Mbaku Shinobi. Thank you, Nyobari, for the restream, and thank you, Jazzman, for tracking.
Hey, thank you for putting on such a great show. We wouldn't go and have anything to put on without you. So thank you very much for your time and just being in this tournament. You have been a great participant so far, and we look forward to your next match.
All right, take care of yourselves.
Thank you. You too.